A big thank you to Jero for sponsoring today's video on Patreon. Gitrog Ravenous Ride versus Urza, Gishath and Animar. And as ever in this deck, we are not able to start with ramp in the opening hand for some reason. Yeah, we just had one ramp spell, a Farseek or something, that would be much better, but I think we might have to take the mulligan on this. Okay, and almost punished. We've got two of the same cards. Tireless Provisioner with another land would be good. Yeah, it's risky. We could go for a Surveil land and try and get another land on top. We'll try this against my better judgment. Alright, gets us into some ramp. It's just the colours that we're missing out on now because we managed to draw into a Mana Crypt. So we could get down a turn 1 Tireless Provisioner in that case, but I think I prefer the Surveil land, so definitely want to go for that here. Okay, and do manage to see a land on top. It is a tap land. Does that matter? I mean, if we get rid of that, there may well be no lands on top for the next 3 or 4 cards. So let's go for on top of our library. We'll just put up with the tap land, I think. And then do we want to... Yeah, we'll risk our opponent scooping on us here. Let's just get out the fast mana now. Risk targeted removal on it as well, but there we are. Get down the Fire Shrieker. Don't normally like to play equipment, I always point out, unless we can play and equip it on the same turn, but I'm hoping it'll pay dividends that we can get everything out here straight away. Also, showing our opponents these fast mana pieces means that everyone's looking in our direction now. And we are against a couple of blue players, so it might be risky allowing them to hold up counter magic for us. Anyway, it looks as though Animar is tapping out Arcane Signet for Gishath. Alright, the other blue player taps out as well. Players on Magic Online will do that in order to make the client pass priority faster. If it sees that there's no mana held up, it'll pass through the turns quicker. So you don't tend to see bluffs on Magic Online. Always the risk of getting multiple bolts in a row when we get down a crypt this early as well. And we do lose the first flip. Know what land we're getting into, so it is Tireless Provisioner to start off with. And then I think we need to hold on to as much treasure as possible because we can afford our commander if we keep hold of the rocks here, and then if we manage to make another land, we'll be able to play this and sack it to the Gitrog monster. But we do need multiple coloured sources to get that down. So might as well equip the Fire Shrieker to the 3-2, make it a bit of a better blocker, assuming we don't swing in. And then the tap land comes in and obviously makes us a treasure token with the Provisioner. So very much reliant on being able to get this down with our commander. Boreal Druid for Animar. And the first dinosaur from the Naya player, that is a Belligerent Yearling. 3-2 Trample, Bloodforged Battle Axe from Urza. Not going to miss a land drop though, surely. Although we may well miss the turn 3 land ourselves here, that's going to be pretty rough if we do. But this is the risk that we've taken on here. And that is an Orim's Chant. Target player can't cast spells this turn, and if it was kicked, they can't attack this turn. Well, we can attack. Could go Tear Asunder in response to that, but I don't think it's really worth doing that. We're just hoping for a land here mainly. It would have been nice to get the commander down, but if we're forced to take a turn off, then so be it. Like I said, this is the risk of getting the fast mana down. We lose the flip again. Alright, and we weren't going to make a land anyway, so yeah, I might have been tempted to get down Obnixilis, but I think this is the way that we get back into the game. So let's be reactionary against the player with the 3-2 dinosaur that did that to us. And we can continue to hold up Tear Asunder if we want to. They're deciding to block there, curiously, which is fine with me. Animar into play, and I'm not sure protection from white and black. If we kick this, whether we kick this or not, does it become black or is it always black? I'm not sure how that works. And that is a Predatory Hunger. Whenever an opponent casts a creature spell, plus counter on this, so Animar shouldn't struggle getting plus counters on itself anyway. Yeah, we are actually allowed to target this, so yeah, the colour identity would be black, but we are still allowed to target the Animar with it, so yeah, not sure about the intricacies of the rules there, but we could put 4 mana into this to get rid of the Animar, which isn't the worst idea, depending on what our opponents do here. If Gishath continues to ramp, then it might be worth holding it up for that. This mana that we've got going in the early game is a good means of getting tunnel vision in our opponent's minds. A Smothering Tithe is worth getting rid of for Gishath, so Yeah, I might even just tear asunder on that straight away, because that's a good means of getting their commander down really quickly and getting back into the game when they've only got 2 cards in hand. So it can be a 2 mana tear asunder and exiling the Smothering Tithe, and we can call ourselves even now. Okay, and Urza kept a crap hand, didn't get into any lands and decided to scoop. Alright, so we've got another chance to dodge Mana Crypt and draw a land, see if our luck starts here. Alright, there is a Sheltering Agent, so let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's exactly enough to get that down and go for our commander, which is excellent, so I'll do that here. Plus counter on the Animar, unfortunately. And then another one when we cast the Sheltering Agent, but hopefully we'll get some lands and this will get us back into the game, so make sure to saddle before combat, that's exactly the type of thing I would forget to do. And now they don't have enough power or toughness to take out Gitrog and keep it from getting through. We do have trample, so they can block with the Animar. I want to show this player that I'm not totally absorbed with taking him out, so yeah, thanks to the trample on Gitrog we can go in over here and get the damage through. So swinging to the left, decides to take the damage, weirdly, must be forgetting about his own protection from black. Fine with me. Get the full 6 points of commander, which might be relevant once we start looking at double strike and stuff. Sacrifice the 5/5 means we draw 5 cards, and would have taken us another couple of turns to get into these lands, so that's really good. Good that we've got that dual land as well, because the Tainted Wood will be switched on now. And we'll say Horror with the Cavern of Souls in case we need to replay it again. So there we get some more treasure with the Tireless Provisioner. Was hoping that we wouldn't have to sacrifice that to the Gitrog monster. If we had to play it and swing in with it here, I might have been tempted. So yeah, maybe get down Rampaging Baloths next turn, and then we might still be able to go for the Daemogoth Titan actually. Yeah, we might just be short on colours actually. If someone gets down an Urborg or a Yavimaya, then Cavern of Souls will be able to tap for a colour. But yeah, if I planned out my next few turns correctly, we could have gone Demon on the Cavern of Souls, and then I could have gone Rampaging Baloths into the Daemogoth Titan, but we don't have enough coloured mana at the moment, I don't think. Anyway, Contagious Vorak is only going to cost a single mana. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards. You can reveal a land, put it into your hand. If you don't, then you proliferate. And looks like they didn't find anything they wanted, so did decide to proliferate onto the Animar. And this is where I start to question whether I should have used Tear Asunder on the Smothering Tithe or not. A Drum Hunter taps for a colourless and draws cards. Curiously, not swinging in with the Animar. Might be worried about our Gitrog monster. I'm thinking of going in this way anyhow. Hoping he won't be able to get enough toughness into play to block the Gitrog. Anyway, drawing a card with the Drum Hunter. For the Ancestors, choose a creature type, look at the top 6 cards and reveal any number of them. Put them into hand. So obviously going to name Dinosaur there. You would imagine the flashback is only 4 on that as well. And it is an instant, so could have held it up, but is looking for a cheap dinosaur to play here maybe. Revealed to us an Itzquinth, which, yep, is coming down here. So another plus counter on the Animar. And there's a Quartzwood Crasher we need to look out for also. So not likely we'll be able to get Gitrog through anything next turn. The turn after our next turn, I mean. Need to look out for this thing as well, because it's a fight enabler, I think. No, it's a bite card. It deals damage equal to the power to another target creature for just 2 additional mana, so yeah, well worth having. Now, if we can get into a land here, it would be ideal. Okay, no land for us. Mithril Coat isn't the worst though. So that with double strike means that we can more liberally swing in. So in that case, it's worth just going for the Daemogoth Titan, I think. And hopefully Animar won't be able to interfere with us, continuing to buff that thing. Wanted the Rampaging Baloths in place so that we could start getting some chump blockers down, maybe have to do that next turn. So let's saddle, and then we'll turn in to the right. Should be able to dodge any destruction magic over here, Pongifies and Beast Withins and stuff. If they want to keep us from drawing 11 cards here. Decide to block with that, I'm fine with as well, because that's less removal. So 3 to the creature, 3 to our opponent. Still managing to trigger Gitrog. Sacrifice the 11 powered creature. That gets us into some more lands. So we've got... we haven't played a land yet, so just get 3 of them into play. We'll play the Polluted Delta separately. And make 3 treasures when we do that. Alright, so we could go for the Archfiend of Ifnir trick, which would be... yeah, we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana left over. How many cards would we have to discard? We'd have to discard 6, and these are counters, I think. Yeah, so that would debuff the Animar quite nicely. Yeah, I think that might be worth doing, because I have a feeling Animar's going to start coming in towards us, and if they manage to buff it and give it double strike, then I'm going to wish I did it. So let's go for the Archfiend of Ifnir. I can go Polluted Delta first, in order to get more treasure. And this means that we have to sacrifice fewer treasure. Throw down the Bayou. So we'll only have to discard 5 cards now. We obviously buff this further when we cast the Demon. Didn't realise there were so many demons in this deck. I never bothered looking before at creature types, so we'll have to be wary of that with Cavern of Souls from now on. So only discarding 5 here, but I think it's worth going to the end step. We've got some instants that we can hold up. So we'll get rid of Bane of Progress, Momentous Fall, because we seem to be doing a good job of keeping our commander in play. Shadow Spear, we can fetch things back with the battle, so yeah, Doming Gate with Indestructible. And we'll get rid of Brass Knuckles as well, because we've already got double strike with the Fire Shrieker. Can always bring that back with the battle, like I just said. So that's 5 minus counters on all our opponent's stuff, getting rid of a lot of the creatures on Animar's side of the field, and debuffing the Animar while we're at it. So that's down to a 4-4, means it can't swing in as well against the double striking Tireless Provisioner, although we'd probably let it through. Urza going to get additional lands into play, only 3 cards in hand at the moment though. So unless our opponents can start getting into removal and board wipes, we're looking pretty commanding here. Looks as though getting rid of that Smothering Tithe over here was a decent play by us, especially with us drawing so many cards in this deck. Seismic Monstrosaur now, so seeing a decent dinosaur over here. A Trample 6/5, sack a land to draw a card, and if it's just a dinosaur here, then we can use Assassin's Trophy to get it out of the way and hopefully still be able to get some damage through. But we can do the Indestructible double strike combo like I said before. A Freeze in Place. Tap a target creature an opponent controls and put 3 stun counters on it. That changes things. Can't blow up our own stuff with Assassin's Trophy, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd be tempted to go for that here. So that gives our opponents a hell of a lot of time. We managed to get that 1 turn in, last turn at least, so that we could get a lot of mana on the go. What we could do, this only gets permanents, doesn't it? Yeah, I was just thinking of the Momentous Fall, but it's an instant, not a permanent. So unless we can get into Greater Good or something like that, I don't see that we're going to wriggle out of this for the next few turns. And I'll think twice about getting the Mithril Coat into play as well, because we may well welcome a board wipe. Or actually, we could get Daemogoth Titan out, couldn't we? That means that we have to... yeah, when it attacks or blocks, we sacrifice a creature. So if we can get haste on it, then we'd be able to sack our Gitrog monster and replay it. There's the Quartzwood Crasher that we were expecting. So I think we are just going to hold on to the instants that we've held up here. As I said previously, it'll give us a chance to get down the Rampaging Baloths at least, because we do want blockers against that Animar for when it does start to swing in. A means of haste here would be ideal. Well, it wasn't likely we were going to get into it straight off the top. So a Demolition Field, always handy to have for Field of the Dead and the like. So if we grab the Daemogoth Titan, we could get ourselves a fetch and something else. Maybe just a Marsh Flats as well. Anyway, we'll get out the Baloths first of all. And then we definitely want to play the Invasion of Chandalar. And we can have the Dinosaur player defend that. We could flip that round straight away with the Archfiend of Ifnir maybe. Forget what this turns into now. You can put a permanent from hand onto the battlefield. I think we flipped that during one of these games, but we never saw the benefit of it. Right, so Daemogoth Titan, Marsh Flats, and maybe the Shadow Spear for some life gain, now that we've got another land in play, or in hand. Yeah, go for the Shadow Spear. So now we can play Marsh Flats straight away, make some more mana and some beast tokens. And we definitely want Daemogoth Titan in play, before I see if I can afford this Shadow Spear. Crack the Marsh Flats, we'll get an untapped land into play. Let's shock in an Overgrown Tomb. Don't think we necessarily need to do that, but I haven't fully worked out how much mana we need to have held up here. Alright, so we can go for 3 mana, plate and equip Shadow Spear, and then hold up the Assassin's Trophy. I think is fine, so it was worthwhile shocking in the Overgrown Tomb. I'm just doing this to gain life with the Archfiend of Ifnir. So a 6/5 at the 4 loyalty invasion, and that way we'll be able to start cheating in awkward cards like Psychosis Crawler and Obnixilis. In the early game you obviously want to be getting down big creatures to sacrifice and draw and ramp, and as the game goes on you'll be able to have surplus mana for cards like this, but to start off with they're a bit awkward to get into play. So an enchantment like this will be useful to us. And we go up to a healthier 32 life. And we've got means of chump blocks as well, so happy with that. We could get 2 lands into play a turn with the Demolition Field as well, if we like. Not discarding any cards though, thanks to a lack of surplus cards in hand with Gitrog being stunned. This is where it's relevant that this thing has haste though. The haste is absolutely massive on this. Animar now a 9/9. Not seeing any kind of evasion on it yet though, other than the protection from white and black. So it's straight through to the attack phase, see if they want to turn in sideways. Holding back Animar as a blocker, not even trying to force the block on this, but they'll be worried about the swing back from us I suppose. So with 1 card in hand, still just holding up all the mana, I'm going to assume that they don't have anything, rightly or wrongly. A Kindred Summons, choose a creature type, reveal cards from the top until you reveal X, where X is the number of creatures you control of that type and put them onto the battlefield, so obviously way better in an elf deck where you're going to have lots of elf tokens in play. Should get 1 dinosaur here though. Or actually they'll definitely get 1 dinosaur because of how it's worded. And it says a Karma. They don't get the cast trigger on that at least, but it is a big 9/9 to worry about. Probably worth an Assassin's Trophy to be honest. I mean, we can decide to hold off on the Assassin's Trophy because we'll still have the treasure mana next turn. Yeah, don't see that there's much harm in holding up Assassin's Trophy during this player's turn and see what happens by the end of that. 6/6 coming in towards us. I mean, we just double block with the 2 beast tokens, I imagine. We'll only lose 1 of them. Yeah, I don't think that's the best attack from our opponent. Oh, actually, what I should have done, I forgot about the block clause on this. Should have blocked with that, and then we could have had the Gitrog monster available to us next turn. That's annoying. Because the problem is now with the Titan we have to swing in with it in order to sacrifice the Gitrog, and obviously by that time Gitrog is pretty useless to us. So we could have been a turn ahead here. Might be that they decide to block this with the Zakama. So we will keep hold of the Assassin's Trophy, there's no real need to use it here. Alright, Leyline Surge is going to cheat something in for the first time. And I think it can be an Obnixilis because we're definitely going to make landfall this turn. So our opponents will lose 3 life to that. Alright, and Lightning Greaves. Unfortunately, a turn or so too late. Let's go Shadow Spear onto the Titan, simply because it's a big creature that's going to have lifelink for us. And this player holding up priority, so might try the Lightning Greaves onto the Titan then. Because it might be that they're holding up some interaction here. 4, 5, 6, 7, they do have Cyclonic Rift mana held up. So there's no harm in tapping down the Sol Ring, because we'll just play it out again straight away after a Rift. I'll hold off on landfall just in case that's relevant. Alright, but successfully getting the Lightning Greaves on there, that's fine. So, yeah, go through to attacks. Swing in at Zakama, and should have already had the Gitrog monster sacrificed here. Not used to the abilities on this, because it's supposed to just sit there as a big dumb creature for us to sack, but yeah, the supposed downside is actually benefiting us here. And should have benefited us a turn sooner. Deciding to take the hit here, so we are going to be forced to use Assassin's Trophy on Zakama, I think. Yeah, so with each opponent having 1 card in hand, I'll assume that even if it is a Rift, it won't matter if they go for Rift after we play our commander. We can put Greaves onto it. It just saves us casting it again next turn, so Demolition Field for some more landfall. So it's plus counters on Obnixilis. Yeah, we'll see if we can encourage this dinosaur player to scoop, because that's a valid tactic on Magic Online apparently. And we're back up to 41 life thanks to the Shadow Spear. Alright, so that's buffed up to a 6/6 already. Let's get down our commander. It will be uncounterable thanks to the Cavern of Souls. Animar jumps up to a 10/10. And just in case there is a rift, I want to hold up mana for the Assassin's Trophy, so we'll do that on the lands. Let's go for Fire Shrieker. Only costs, 2 to equip. We'll put that on the Gitrog, because it might be relevant during the next turn. Priority still being held up by Animar, so I'm assuming he's got something. It might just be a card draw spell. Try and put the Greaves over there to protect our commander. Alright, and that lands, so we can't go for Indestructible, he's noteworthy, but we do have a surplus of mana to get Gitrog out again. So we'll just have to hope that there's no board wipes. Like I said, if it is a rift, then it's not the end of the world for us, unless there's some double strike to be had here, because there's not much we're going to do about that. Nope, no rift from our opponent, so he's in top deck mode seemingly. Sacrificing a land to draw a card with the Monstrosaur, then able to get down a tap land in which he gains a life. And we'll see if he decides to swing in here. Decides against it, which is probably not going to feel good, but it's likely a good move because there's not much he's going to do against the attacks back. We'll annoy the dinosaur player even further with the Assassin's Trophy, because we can't have mana being pumped into the abilities of Zakama. That will interfere with our board too much, I imagine. They can always get their commander down and try their luck swinging in, but they can't get through to either of us at the moment. Okay, and an offer you card. I had a feeling the Animar player was going to do something like that. Yeah, I suppose it makes sense if he feels as though the Zakama is going to interfere with our board, and it makes him tap out his mana so that he's not messing around over here too much, then an offer you can't refuse does make sense. It gives us more treasure at least. Luckily we do have the Lightning Greaves on Gitrog, so it can't be bolted. Although, does this destroy... Yeah, they could go after the Lightning Greaves and then bolt it a few times, I suppose. That'll be most of their mana though. And we could always go for this in response as well once the Lightning Greaves has been removed. Okay, is Nissa Who Shakes the World. They don't have... Oh, it's just forests, it's not basic forests. They've only got one in play, so that's not as great as it could be. They could tap this down for mana and then animate it and tap it down again though. So they've got 6 mana available here if they want. No cards in hand though, so they are going for that play of tapping it down for 2 and then turning it into a man land and untapping it. And they do decide to tap it for mana instead of holding it back as a blocker. And using Zakama to blow up this thing is, yeah, fair enough. Not against that. Would have been nice to cheat down the Psychosis Crawler, but we may well be able to just hardcast it next turn. I don't think there's any harm in that. Start chipping away further at our opponents. Psychosis Crawler and Obnixilis being in play should throw some nice damage around. And they've got 3 green mana floating, so can go for another artifact or enchantment. Argument to be made for the double strike. They've gone for the Shadow Spear instead. I was looking at the +1 buff being relevant on the Gitrog monster, so fair enough. We've gained our life back from that, so I'm happy we played it, because we'd be in the teens at this point without that. Still 1 card in Animar's hand, but we'll assume it's not Destruction Magic, because I think they would have used it by now. Based on previous turns, that is. I think this is the card, or at least one of the cards they've been holding on to for a long time. No way of telling though. The previous turn they could have had a land in hand and then they drew into something relevant along with the offer you can't refuse. I'm just thinking because we need to re-equip Lightning Greaves to get Shroud off it so that we can respond with Mithril Coat, I think. Could be an exile effect from the... Alright, okay. Both players have scooped at the same time. That was about to be an interesting turn. It's a real shame that. We were going to draw into a Filth, which is just something to discard. And then hopefully tap and sacrifice this. So we draw 11 cards. And I've just been kicked out straight away. We were going to get into a Gishath and another means of unblockable and hexproof, which would have been good for the next few turns. Yeah, if those 2 players had played it out for another couple of turns, maybe they could have wiped the board and then ganged up on us, but yeah, I didn't fancy their odds there, unfortunately. The 2 most popular commanders from this set, I think, or amongst them at least, are Olbika and the new Gitrog, and unfortunately they're very powerful commanders and players don't like to play against them. I can't get a full game in with Olbika to save my life. As soon as she hits and gets me multiple upkeeps, no one wants to sit through them all, so probably give up on her. The Gitrog, we at least got an interesting board state here. Maybe it was a foregone conclusion if our opponents are giving up like that. Just a shame that we're not actually forced to get our opponent's life totals down to 0, but there we are. That's Magic Online for you. Hopefully you got some enjoyment out of it anyway. I'm Tribalkai. Thank you for watching.